Yeah, so I was saying, you good? You got it set up again, recording or whatever?
Yes, sir.
I was saying the number one excuse that I've always heard, and I'm sure you've heard, that seems to be probably the most common, is people don't have time to exercise, right? There's no time. And it's just so interesting to me. Like, another thing, too, that I'd like to touch on is I think potentially Coach Glassman can see into the future. Because remember all the living room workouts that
Oh man,
they're on social, and that they're, everyone was giving him a hard time. Well, now the joke's on us, right? But it's just funny, like, I don't have time. And now for all those I don't have time people, I'd be interested to see, was this time utilized? So now that excuse has been taken away, it's like you got nothing but time now. But yeah,
I think that would be an amazing. I mean, I don't know how honest everybody would be, but I think that would be amazing because you're right. You think, people just to dedicate an hour 3 times a week was so challenging. And then, you get the ones like literally you say, wow, I think you're pretty good at fitness because you come four times a week for an hour for like a month. Like, wow, like that's pretty good. And you're right. And that is weird. I forgot about that. Glassman doing those. I'm like, I would always just immediately go, really? And then just skip through it, skip it. But,
yeah.
But I love the freedom. I used to think it was a prison to have to be aware of what I thought of and what I felt and what I, was paying attention to and where my energy was going, which is terrifying. And I wasn't raised that way. My parents didn't raise me that way. But, that's actually freedom because now I am in control of what I focus on. I'm in control of what I buy, what I spend my time, who I spend my time with. Because, I think people, hopefully one of the things people understand when whatever this gets to wherever it's going to be for a while, because I don't think it's ever going to be fully normal. I think it's going to be much more hybrid versions. And people are, because it's not like people are just going to forget that this is a possibility. I mean, some people might, that's terrifying, but I think it's awesome because it's like, yeah, I have time. I have a finite amount of time on this earth. What am I going to do? Or I have a finite amount of time. And then that's the big whole idea. And then it's, even believing in God, like for me and being like, yeah, I'm going to be somewhere else after, I still want to make the bbest of my time here. Because even though it's going to be different, wonderful, whatever, I still have now. That doesn't mean I'm going to wait around and be like, okay, I just want to die here, hopefully in like 50 years and figure out what, I want to make the best with what I have when I get it. And so
I mean, I think faith is a beautiful thing, but the only thing that we can know is literally this moment.
Yep. Because and that's all we have guaranteed right this very is right now anyway. But for me, I think I just find it funny that I was on this journey when we were still allowed to go meet with people before this was a real thing. So when people started having to shift their paradigm of what's important and what we're doing and everything, I was already ahead of the game, which is funny because by me leaving the gym, of course, then I felt like I was behind the game again because I'm like, well, I'm 46 and I'm starting new and starting fresh and I don't really know what my direction's going to be, but it's going to be, loving, like how I keep saying it, loving on people. This is loving on people.
When you and I first sat down, you said a number of things that were kind of interesting to me, just about like you're saying now, what you wanted to do and how you felt that you wanted to be engaged with people. You wanted to, we kind of shared the same conviction of just wanting to love on people. And you kind of made the statement like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know that I want to be able to help people and engage with people. And it's just the timing thing and kind of where you've arrived is really interesting to me. And, you and I have talked in the past about God and our kind of conviction there. And just reminds me of, there's a verse that says something like, whatever you put your hand to do in my name, I will bless. And it's just kind of funny to me, the timing, how this has all worked out for you. I think you're blessed is the point.
I would 100% agree. Because through this, I've had my anxieties because I have anxiety anyway, but I've never felt overwhelmed. I've never felt discouraged. Like I've never felt just my normal sensations. Like I'm not ignorant to what's going on. It's just, I'm like, that's not my jam. It's okay. So yeah, it is.
It's a lot easier to be stressed about finances when everyone else is working. But when no one has a job, you're like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and then I also don't feel the rush, and it doesn't put a strain on my relationship with my wife of having to get a job, because and I'm not discounting anybody who works at anywhere really, but I'm meant for something bigger, and I still don't know what it is. Once again, that would be awesome. Like I wouldn't mind a little. I would mind a little. I would love a big hint, really, is what I would love. But I know just something like you said. I counted my videos, and I've put 50 videos in my YouTube channel, which I still don't know how to market them. A lot of them don't have views because that's not necessarily the outcome isn't why I did it. It really is the process. It's the process of, you made an impact on me and I was super grateful. So guess what? I want whoever watches this at whatever time or sees this or whatever to be able to have a glimpse of how awesome, why I think you're awesome. Because to me, that's as selfless as I can get, because no matter what, I'm always going to be coming from my point of view. I'm always going to, I can pretend like I'm going to be open-minded, but some stuff I'm just like, I love you as a human, but you're an idiot. Like I'm not going to spend time with you. Like I'm going to pray for you because I want to hit you in the face really hard, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to just love on you and pray and walk away nicely, and it's weird because one of the things that popped into my head at 2 a.m. after talking to one of my friends who's a nurse, after having spent time with you and been on the path of just being my true self and just doing what that entails. God has a sense of humor and no watch, I keep telling everybody. So he woke me up at 2 a.m. and said, I want you to connect healthcare workers with volunteers for conversations, just to help them out, because people are going through stuff. And you have, like yesterday, I don't know if you ever met a girl named Audrey DeRocher. I think you might have. I think she's been to some events, but whatever. She did CrossFit for a while. She's also a nurse. She's really nice and wonderful. She's out here, but I spoke to her, and because I don't have an agenda with these conversations, it really, to me, it's where it goes. It's, she talked about mainly her CrossFit journey and how she had to kind of walk away from CrossFit because it became unhealthy. And then she put God in the background, her health in the background, her family in the background. And so it was cool because that's a big part I didn't fully realize. And, it's cool. And so, yeah, she's a nurse and she's staying at, she just tried to throw it in at the end. yeah, I've been staying at a hotel so I don't, I don't potentially infect my parents. And I'm like, okay, that's an amazing priority that you've chosen. I don't like saying sacrifice, even though as a Christian, some people might embrace that, but a lot of people think that's a negative connotation. To me, it's like they prioritize and they value potentially trying to help their friends and family and all that as opposed to their comfort level. And to me, that's like, okay, obviously this conversation was worth it, and that's why the same with you. Like what I like about you is, well, you're deep thinking and you're thoughtful. And one of the things is you don't necessarily have diarrhea of the mouth as I do. And so, like, if you have a thought, not everybody necessarily has to know what it is immediately. And I would like to have a filter like that. So I look up to that quality. That's a good quality to have.
But I think part of it's natural for me. I think part of that's natural, and part of it's honestly learned from my job. The deep thinking part of it's natural, part of it's learned. The whatever you said, loving part or whatever, I think part of it's natural, part of it's learned, and then just the filter too. It's when I first started, um, I've had two affiliates now. One with each of my brothers, and then, as you know, now I have other partners in Maven, and they've been great. They've become just like family. But the beginning of my journey, um, I would say in CrossFit in Cincinnati, I was definitely serving a community. But when I moved up to Michigan and I started my own affiliate, and I shouldn't say my own, my brother was involved right from the beginning, but he essentially let me kind of have free reign over the branding, the direction, the focus. It was very much about me. It was about my team. It was about my journey. It was about, me as an athlete. Um, and not that the loving components weren't still there. I just think it was just a maturity thing. It's just a maturity thing, and so now I just realized that all that just kind of self-centered focus, it does nothing for anyone but you, and it doesn't even do a good job with you. I mean, it's just interesting. It's just, my son doesn't give two shits what I can do as an athlete. I mean, he doesn't care. He just has no context, right? I love my wife, but she doesn't care. Oh, she just doesn't care. And as much as I think that the Maven community kind of admires my, you know whatever, I work out hard and do some pretty extreme things. I think that there's some admiration there for that, but I don't think they really care all that much either. Ultimately it's about what you're giving to people, and that's what affects them, and that's what they hold on to, and that's what the relationships are built on. And so whether it's my son, my wife, the Maven community, it's all about what I can give back, and then ultimately that's the only thing that matters. I think, if and I found so much more purpose and happiness in that. I don't feel there. I had a lot of, I wouldn't say anxiety, and maybe this is synonymous, but just general angst about becoming and achieving in my teen years and early 20s, and through my 20s. It was just like, whether it was, athletically, financially, just, how many cool points I had. I just had a lot of angst about, just becoming. And I don't even know what it was that I wanted to become, really. I felt, I had this like chronic kind of feeling of being behind, you know? I still get, there's bouts of that at times still, but I have a lot more confidence and comfort and just appreciation for my life right now. And I think that the biggest switch has been paying a lot more attention to other people's needs and a lot less to what does Brad want. When I wake up every day, it's my house, my son, my wife, it's my close knit group of friends, the Maven community. Those are all my first thoughts. And if I'm efficient and dedicated to all those things, and I do a good job with them, there's time that can be allocated. There's time that's freed up for me to be able to do the things that are about, Brad or just Brad and a friend, and I'm just so much happier that way. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So it's almost like when you talk about nutrition, right? It's like the difference between like quantity and quality. Like, I feel hungry, I can eat a bag of chips, I can eat, have a couple drinks, eat some fried chicken, a half hour later eat some Chinese food, I'm still hungry, and then you get a really good mixed green salad with some good organic chicken, free range chicken breast on there. You have just, a decent sized salad, I'm totally full. It's like, what's the difference? When your body's craving, when you feel hunger, it has nothing to do with calories. It has to do with nutrition. Your body's, calling for nutrients. And I feel like it's the same thing. If you have this constant feeling of like need in your life, I'm hungry, I need more. We think it's money, we think it's attention, we think it's, just more, bigger house, more cars, more this, more that. And I still definitely have bouts of being guilty of falling into those things and kind of getting overwhelmed by them at times. But I think generally I've really realized that it's much more about quality. It's the quality of my time. And when I say quality, essentially what I'm saying is, how does it affect other people's life? And that's, I don't know. I've just experienced a massive shift in my own fulfillment when my focus has kind of changed about putting others' desires first. And it's counterintuitive, but
it is.
you immediately become happier. I immediately become happier when I think about other people first. I'm so much more fulfilled. I don't have that feeling of angst, I don't know. It's just a wild concept. I think that's shit. That might be the greatest battle of all of mankind, right?
Because it's a paradox. It's that I have to give it away to keep it. And I remember when, they said that with recovery. I mean, and they said literally you have to give it away to keep it. And I'm like, I know I'm only young, but that's freaking stupid. Like if I have $1 and I give you $1, I don't have another dollar. That's not how money works. That's not, but then, I've had something simple, like my last piece of gum. This is a great example. Like my last piece of gum or last piece of candy, like something that I really want. But if I give it to a friend or anybody, like whatever, somebody needs something, and I'm like, yeah, immediately with as I'm doing it, like I have that struggle of, but I want it. But as soon as I make that decision to start doing it, to give to them, immediately I'm like, wow, I'm glad I was able to do that. Like, that's nice, And then when I was younger, like I think you were talking about maturity, is I was also wrapped up in, well, how are they responding to me being?
Yeah. I got a really interesting story about that. Give me 1 second.
You bet.
I'm on a Zoom meeting. I told Melanie you're on your way. Just say hey to her, and I'll catch you in a bit. I was at a conference one time, and it was I believe it was at my brother's chiropractic college. They do this thing called Lyceum, and it's basically their homecoming every year for Palmer Chiropractic College, Davenport, Iowa, which is D.D. Palmer founded chiropractic, I believe, and then B.J. Palmer was his son.
Is that
B.J.'s
Iowa?
he's the founding father of all kind of chiropractic philosophy and whatever. But anyways, they call Davenport the fountainhead of all chiropractic. Anyways, they do this big thing every year called Lyceum. Really cool celebration. If you ever want to meet some fired up, passionate people, man, that's the place to go. But anyhow, we were at this conference, and this guy, I don't really, it's kind of fuzzy to me. I was probably only a teenager, so I want to say, this is half a lifetime ago.
Yep.
Right? So I was 16 or 17 or something. So this is half of my life ago. But he was talking about basically the same concept of just pouring into people. And he said, I want everyone here in the crowd anyone in the crowd, I want you to raise your hand if you've gotten a really nice compliment today that you can recall. And, there's there's 3, 4, 5, 600 people listening to this lecture, and 2 people raised their hand. And he said, wow, out of, 400, and we're at least halfway through the day. It's the afternoon. Only 2 people recall getting a really nice compliment today. And he made the comment to them, or he said, out of everyone in the group here who has given a really nice compliment today. And there was 2 people, same 2 people. Right. And that I don't remember who the guy was. I don't really recall what the lecture was about. I just remember that concept just was super powerful to me, in that try not to get emotional here, but
I've already cried once. You're fine.
My dad is a really good example. And then I already mentioned my buddy Jason Gabor. He's another excellent example. But I have so many memories of my dad giving to people, whether it was his time, his skills, doing. My dad's a very good high skill labor construction, ceramic, tile, marble installation. He's done his entire life. He's done extremely high end jobs, and very good at it. And he's donated so much work, so much time, materials. So many times my parents have survived and done fine, and we had a good life growing up, but they were never what I would consider to be even remotely wealthy, at least in the culture that I grew up in. But my dad was like, anytime anyone needed anything, he was always like, they need this more than we do, or this is important. Even to the point where I remember my mom and him, and my mom's an exceptionally nice lady and very giving as well.
I see where this is going.
There was even times where it's like, you work so hard for this money, and you're just going to give it away to this person or that person. And not that it was like there was no like real turmoil, but it was a discussion,
Yeah.
And my dad's always just had such conviction on like the importance of that. And I already mentioned my buddy Jason Gabor. I feel the same about him. Like, he has so much. He's a very convicted person. His beliefs as it relates to God, and he's constantly reminding me where he's convicted everything comes from, right? And I share his conviction. I understand that not everyone does, but it's very powerful coming to him, because he's constantly giving, and it's a really a struggle to give anything to him. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, he's like,
That's Jason,
I don't know.
right? The one I know?
That's Jason Schomer, I think.
Okay.
You've probably met Gabor at some point. He's been in the Maven community, CrossFit community for quite some time.
Okay.
He was one of my partners in GBRX when that was a thing.
Okay, that's
really
I might know
awesome
him from
guy.
that.
So, anyways, I just both those guys, my dad and Jason, are just really good examples of that. Like, you know, always giving, and they've never gone without. My dad has never. He's always there was some, I think, pretty scary times for my parents financially when I was growing up, and it was like they always worked out. You know, they always worked out, and I don't know. I just that's very just a very powerful concept to me. You know, we think about, you know, ourselves first and giving second. It's like, I don't know that that's, you know, the right way to do it. I think that there's you know, I know that there's a lot of different books and documentaries and out there about putting your love out into the world and blah, blah, blah. And I don't necessarily want to get into all that, but I think that there very well potentially could be some sort of law in our world, in our universe, that we have a hard time uh, verbalizing, that we have a hard time defining, that suggests that the more you give, the more that you are given to and receive and are taken care of. Long story short, that's been my experience, not only with myself, but with a bunch of people that I really admire. It just seems like the more they give, the more they've been taken care of, and I feel that way within my own life.
And what I like is, because you are true to that, then your Maven family is going to be a representation of that. And that's the one thing I took a lot of pride in with CFN, is that the people still hang out now, still talk to each other now, still, you know, because we had one of our members, her and her husband and her 20-year-old daughter had it really bad. So last week, after everybody was done, I socially distanced some fit aids to her and just dropped them off outside their house and stuff like that. And, you know, I did an interview with her because she's also a special ed teacher. So I don't know why I'm shocked that I surround myself with people who are caring, giving people. But I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'm not an idiot. I guess because the people I admire are caring, are selfless. And like you said, you're at least, because you're thoughtful enough, you're at least aware that a lot of it is nature, but some of it's nurture, some of it's work, some of it's, you know.
Yeah, I haven't always, you know, I don't think I've always done the best job of that. You know, Maven's definitely been there's been a big journey for me. And when I was in Cincinnati with CrossFit Cornerstone, I was so consumed with the workload that I had to give. That was the only way to keep up. When we took over that business, it was called Beat Personal Training. My sister-in-law, my brother, and we were so overwhelmed with the workload, and it's a long story, but that's all we could do was give to the business, and it worked out really well for all of us. But when I came back with Maven and started it with no members and kind of built it up from nothing, it was different. It was like, you know, like I said before, a lot of it was about me, and there's some, you know, I don't want to say regrets, but there's some, definitely looking back, there's some things I think that I could have done a lot better as it relates to just what the focus was, you know, a lot of times. And it's been really cool. We've had a lot of success in the sport of CrossFit. And I'm proud of that, and it's something that I want to continue. But I think there was times where it was almost like it was almost something I coveted. It was like it almost became like like an idol for me, a god for me at times. And I think that there were some points in time where there's some little micro decisions that just accumulatively over a few years could have been better as it related to serving our community. And I think as time's gone on, that's just something I've learned from experience. And I'm really, really thankful for those lessons now. I think our community is stronger than ever. During this time, we have lost a decent amount of members. Every person that we have, I've had very direct, open communication with, and it's been people that are struggling and going through a hard time financially, and we've also had other people kind of step up and help us out in a lot of ways, and I'm confident we'll come out of it stronger than ever. Not that there won't be hurdles and hardship, and there might be some tight times and tight months, but been through that plenty of times before. When we moved into our bigger space, there's been a lot of different kind of challenging times that we've gone through, and I think you just keep your head down, keep serving, and my experience is that whatever you want to call it, I call it God, but gives back, so yeah.
I think that's a perfect place to stop recording. So I'm going to stop recording there, and then I'll just finish talking so that you can get on. But yeah, because I can't add anything to that. That's like, and that was a mic drop. Anybody else hear that? All right, good job. Yep, I'm like, and out. So
hang out a couple minutes.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm gonna hit stop record.
Will you be able to splice the two together?
I will try.
If you can't figure that out, I got someone who probably can if you want to.
Oh, I would love to, because yeah, I don't even know. Like, I don't hashtag well, I don't market it well, because I'm just like, I don't know that stuff, and I'm not super good at it. And mainly because I've been lazy with looking into how to do that. That's what it is. But any help, I would love to, because
cool. And then once we get it out, I'll help you share it and put it out there as well.
Thanks, buddy.